Oh,
Oh,
we're
here we go.
on stage. Let's
We
go.
are on. So we are on with episode 46 of the GameFi Rundown. Jimbo, thanks for coming as always. And we have a special guest today, Caveman.
What's up?
Caveman, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for asking me to come on. Super excited to talk about the new open beta. It's going to be so exciting.
Yeah. And if Caveman looks a little tired, he forgot to tell me when I asked him to come on the show that it was going to be 1:30 in the morning for him. So we're filming this in the middle of the night for him. I think we could have changed times a little bit, but we appreciate you for, I think you took a little nap and then woke up for this.
Yep. So it's 1:30 here in the UK, but I appreciate it. I needed to make it work for you, so I was totally fine waking up for it. So
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. We've been trying to get you on for a few episodes here. I finally got you. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about because we just had the open beta testnet start up for Illuvium, and then we'll talk a little bit about Polemos a little later because I want to hear some updates and everything that's going on with that, especially with the lending system, and because I've been big on that. But let's just get started right away with all right. So testnet open beta that just came out yesterday. Like I think we're just 24 hours into it. It came with some changes that I want to talk about quick, and then I just want to get your thoughts on it. If you're just jumping into the testnet, open beta for the first time now, and you weren't in the private beta, you're probably not going to notice these changes. But there were some changes to how things worked in there. One of the big things that stood out to me was there's going to be no more deconstruction of the parts to make to upgrade
huge.
to different parts. And that right away told me that like the team is realizing that making things too complicated just isn't worth it. Because even I'm in there being like, how many of these do I have? Do I need to deconstruct certain things to build something else? And it was just getting too complicated. So they're getting rid of the deconstruction, making things more simple, less complicated, because I think that's been one of the things that some people have complained about. Like it's just too complicated, even with the tutorials. It's too complicated. Another cool thing is that the deposits. So I'm guessing those are the rocks that are on there. They're not just going to be on the ground anymore. You're going to find them on the walls, on the ceilings. And to be fair, I haven't downloaded the new game or the new build and started playing it, so I haven't even experienced this yet. We're about 24 hours in, so I'm hoping you guys did, so you can talk a little more about it. And then I do want to get your thoughts on the arena change too, which is removing the opponent in team reveal before you're playing. Because I know you guys are both playing arena more than I am too. Caveman, we'll start with you. What do you think about the changes with this and just the excitement of the open beta overall, more people joining in and getting able to play?
Yes, so let's hop on some of the changes you mentioned there first. So, just the rocks, that's the most obvious one that people are going to see. These rocks, these deposits are everywhere now. They're on walls, they're on trees. Look at the ceiling. Like you're like just gunning everywhere now. They really made it like a more dimensional experience as you're shooting around trying to collect resources and ore. So that's going to make the mining runs a lot more fun and just you'll go through it quick too because they're just everywhere. So that's one that's pretty cool. We've got the deconstruction, as you mentioned. I actually did like that. I think if they just updated the UI and made it more user friendly to like click, hey, I need this drone component. How do I make it? And then you could quickly understand what you needed to deconstruct. They just didn't have that implemented. And I'm curious if this was a temporary fix until they got the UI fix, and then they might actually bring deconstruction back. I'm not sure because they still have that deconstruction tab. Maybe that's just they didn't want to get rid of that in the UI right now. But that was something that they changed, and I think that it would be either way it works because now what happens is, let's say you're trying to make a stage 2 sword. It's in the recipe, it says, hey, I need the stage 1 sword, so that makes it much easier
You
to
burn it
understand.
in the process.
And you burn it in the process. Yep.
Yeah. And for the deconstruction, is that still there for shard dust? Do you still use that
Ooh,
to
yes.
get the
Yep.
shard dust? Maybe that's why it's still in there.
True.
Um,
Yep. 100%.
or it could be, yeah, maybe they're gonna go back to it. They did also mention, I guess I could share this screen because I have this up too. They also mentioned in this post here that there's going to be ongoing changes and balances. So even though they've already made some changes going into this build, like expect through the next, I don't know, month and a half, whatever we got left of this test net, that there's going to be more balancing and more changes coming. Because they just want to make it the best possible for open beta. Yeah, but Jimbo, what are you thinking so far? Did you play this new build yet?
I have not, so I'm interested to see what the Caveman and Light made. Did the deposits, you said they like grow on trees. Are they the same? Like they look the same?
They are, but it's
That
like
sounds
it's
like it doesn't fit.
they grow out sideways. Like you'll be like, whoa, I don't remember there being a deposit up there, and you shoot it. It's just it feels pretty wild. It literally feels like you're just hunting, like just all over the place. It really makes it feel more
Okay.
like a shooter. And I think once they realized that people were just loving jumping and shooting while they're in midair, they just were
Yeah.
like, oh
I
yeah,
I was about to say that like it for me it's probably going to take away a bit of the immersion, but at the same time it's like you're not always looking at the ground, you're looking here and there, and I could see why that they would add that in. It is going to make it much more fast-paced, much more fun. Something that looks in I didn't even know about this until you sent the image over. Remove opponent in team reveal in arena. What is even
Yeah, so
I'm
I don't know too much about it, but I saw Viper made a post, and obviously when Viper makes a post about Arena, he's one of the top players, so you listen. And he seemed like he wasn't a big fan of it. I don't really remember his reasoning, but I guess from a competitive standpoint, it maybe hurts you a little bit. I mean,
It's
Caveman,
just
you got any
weird.
details?
I don't see how that makes sense. Like you have to be able to know what your opponent's deck is so you can like play into it. Because eventually, after round one, with how limited the deck building kind of is in the game right now, you're gonna know what team comp the other person is gonna have right away.
yeah. Well, and that's not necessarily true either because you know you can change early on. One strategy that I've been
Sure.
using lately is as long as you don't ascension tokens, at least in what I consider the current meta, are the most valuable resource. If you ascend something, you need to keep it ascended. And so, but until then, and specifically, it was actually Don Coupon. He has a really crazy deck. It'll wipe you out in 4 turns, and you could like sell, you know, your Volantes. He was running with Volantes and very cheap rogues, sell them off, and then he could totally pivot his deck. And I think that that's a potential. Either way, not being able to see that the enemy team's deck is going to make it very hard. You won't know how to counter the augment selection. That's going to be the biggest impact because you don't know what they need. And that's the yeah, it's going to add a little bit of RNG for that aspect, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's an interesting one for me. I'm not sure how to feel about that. I'll give it a chance. We'll see how it plays out, but I'm not super happy about that. But hey, we kind of needed something to change it up a little bit. So maybe this could be a good addition. I kind of forgot about ascension tokens. That actually does add a little bit more dynamics to it. But I mean, everything else I'm completely fine with. The deconstruction, I don't see why that's even necessary. Just burn the other sword. It's
Yeah.
literally the same thing. You're wasting time by deconstructing. Now for the shards, I understand why that makes sense. Just not like deconstructing them into whatever it's called to make the master shards. What's it called?
Shard
The shard dust. Yeah, using the shard dust to make master shards. That makes sense, just like lore wise. So all these changes look pretty good. I'm interested to see how I feel about the team reveal in arena.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that too. In like the more just talking through it here and then seeing what Viper had to say about it quick, like it probably helps the majority of people. Because I know I haven't been a good arena player. I haven't had the time to sink into it. I get to a point where like I knew my strategy and I pretty much just did my strategy no matter what I came up against because it was the only thing I knew. I wasn't good enough to adapt yet. So it almost didn't matter if I saw what the opponent had. It would hurt me more than it would help me. So for most people, it might be helpful, but I guess for those top arena players, maybe it's not. And maybe this is something that ends up like they bring it back for the Leviathan mode and they keep it out of the Ascendant mode or something like that. Who knows? We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, whether you like that change or not, or any of these changes really, there's still time to update or change this or that. I mean,
And definitely comment below what you guys think of these. I think that'll be huge to get a conversation going and seeing. And I mean, I'm sure the devs watch these videos and they'll be able to kind of get a little reading the community sentiment from that. So
Yeah,
also make
and
sure
I
to like and subscribe too while you're at it, while you're down there.
all of our channels, right?
Yeah.
I
there's
I was gonna say something I forgot. Go ahead.
okay, I was just gonna mention there's one other cool change that they did, and this is around scanning. From my understanding, I thought they were actually going to be removing scanning altogether, but they've made it cheaper. It's only 25 energy now, so that's like you can just scan every encounter, and it shows every alluvial. So even when you're going into a stage 3 run, you can see all 11 or 13 alluvials and really get a gauge of, hey, do I want anything from this? And do I think I can win this battle? And so I think that'll be, it's been a really nice feature, especially once we start talking about the airdrop and how to get points there.
Yeah, and I think that's still a semi-temporary change too? Because I know Kieran's talked about having it change so you're actually just battling the alluvials in the overworld. So the one you come up against, you're actually just shooting it and catching it like you would in a Pokemon game, and just getting rid of the arena section of the overworld. But then again, we're not expecting that until after open beta. But I do like these changes. But yeah, let's move down to the airdrop, because I was under the impression that until open beta, the airdrop was based solely on how much time you played. But it looks like they've added some more. There was a cool video that came out earlier today about future missions that are going on, which I don't think are starting till open beta. But for this, let me just run through some of the notes I had here quick. First off, you're going to get 100 points, 100 of these airdrop points for every hour you play. And that's for any game. That's for the overworld, the arena, and Illuvium Zero. Even though I was a little disappointed to find out Illuvium Zero, there's not a new build to download. It's not even on the testnet. It's just the same thing that we've been playing. But it's cool that they still included it in there. I have that just on my computer all the time. Past 24 hours, I just go and I do a couple moves, rack up some of my time. But the other cool thing is that if you're really playing the overworld, you can get a ton of bonus points. So if you collect, actually I can share my screen on this one too. Where are we here? Yeah, so if you collect full sets of each tier, so that being, every alluvial in that tier, stage 1, 2, and 3, you get these bonus points. So for example, if you collect all of the tier 0, you get an extra 200 points. All the way up to all of the tier 5s, you get an extra 15,000 points. And this can be done multiple times. So if you have 2 of each tier 5 alluvial, then I believe you're going to get 30,000 points. That's what it sounds like it's talking about here. So if you're playing the overworld, that's definitely going to benefit you towards these airdrops. But I guess the one question I want to start out with you guys is that, I hate using the word unfair, but the fact that we have these bonus points that we can collect in the overworld, but there's no bonus points in Illuvium Zero for maybe finding new blueprints. There's no bonus points in arena for being good or winning matches. It's just time in those other games. So what do you think about that? Do you think they should have had some bonus points in these other games as well?
Do you want to start, Caveman?
Okay, yeah, I'll start. So there's a lot of debate. There's actually already been a feedback idea made by Patat from the Hyperion Guild. Very upset that Arena doesn't have any points. That's something that we think that we need players, and I support the proposal, or at least support the idea right now, that we need rewards back there to start pushing people to play that, or Arena is going to be totally dead until later, because otherwise you're going to get your 100 points per hour, and you're going to get the chance at these bonus points. But you go to Arena, you get nothing. And one thing I haven't tested out yet is if you can actually gain experience in Arena, because then that could help you fuse those tier 4s, tier 5s, and then finish your whole collection for a tier. But I haven't tested that. If you guys have, but you guys haven't played it yet. But I think that could maybe offset it. But especially for IZ with no quests or anything there, that's really unfortunate for people who just want to play that game. So I think that they could have separated more. I'm assuming that the team is just wanting research and data on Overworld. And I think it's heavily around how the bonding curve works, because that is active now, and they want to see how a good amount of players will impact that. And so that's my general thoughts on it. Jimbo?
Bro, I saw this. So at the beginning, before every episode, like a day before, Najaf sends us a little sheet of all the topics, and on here I saw share of points equal share of ILV airdrop, or it says fair to IZ and arena players. I don't know why I couldn't get that out, and I saw the word fair there, and I was just like, it's like that meme, here we gonna go again, you know what I mean? It's like, goodness, no, it's like, but what you said with Patates is, what is the word? Why can't I think?
Post.
His post. There's actually thought behind that, though. It's like, we want arena players. It's not, this is unfair to arena players. So that makes sense, but I don't know. This whole thing about this is unfair to me, this is unfair to me. I'm getting bored of that thing. You know what I mean? It's definitely fair to some extent, especially for IZ players. I'll be honest, but at the same time, it's like let's just get to the point where the game is coming out, then we can complain about like
Yeah.
what's unfair or what's fair.
Yeah.
The reason, as Caveman said, the reason that they're probably doing this for Illuvium Overworld is so that they can gather that data. If you don't think
Yeah.
that there are going to be parts of the airdrop that are more fair to Arena or more fair to IZ, and maybe I could be wrong about this, but I would be very surprised if that wasn't the case.
Yeah, and I was just about to say the same thing. Just what Caveman said. You got to think about what's more beneficial to the team right now. The arena didn't really get that much of an update, so they already have data on that. Illuvium Zero didn't get any update. Like I would understand if they had a new build for Illuvium Zero and it was tied into the testnet, maybe they want some incentive to play there. But there's really not much of an incentive to play there too. They just include it in there because maybe some people only want to play it, or maybe some people don't have a computer strong enough to play the other games. So they're giving them an opportunity with Illuvium Zero. But what the team really needs to know is the data that comes around the overworld, which is, no matter what anyone else wants to say, the most important game in Illuvium, because that's where the alluvials come from. If you screw that up with the supply and demand side of things, or the pricing and all of that, then everything is in trouble. So getting more data on the overworld, it makes sense, from an Illuvium perspective.
And I mean, let's talk about that. That was another change that hasn't we didn't talk about is Hyperion cost and travel cost. That those have changed dramatically too. So you're now looking at a stage 1 of only being 75 cents per run, and then a stage 3 I think is $4.50. So your travel is now way cheaper. And guess what they did to that master shard? They made that thing worth it costs $129 now in USD in Hyperion. So you're not going to be. I think what they're trying to do is push it that you're supposed to be iterating. You're supposed to be doing so many runs and just keep your regular shards. You don't want to be doing masters unless you're going for like a T5, stage 2, stage 3. And so I think they're still trying to figure out that economy and how they want it to look. Or maybe they're just trying to get us to burn our master shards who have a whole bunch, and they'll change the price a little bit later. But I mean, it's testnet.
I didn't even see that exactly all those numbers, but I like that they're making the master shard super expensive, because there was a lot of people saying like, well, it makes a tier 5 shard like worthless, and it makes coming up against something crazy good expensive in the overworld like not as exciting. I think it should be one of those things where, like, I'll probably get myself 1 or 2 just to keep with me at all times, and if I come across a Dark Hollow or that tier 5 stage 3 alluvial, when I know I need it, then I'll use it. But for most everything else, I won't be using those master charts. Because how many alluvials are going to be worth over $129 to make it worth using that master shard? So I like that it's just going to be there for when you need it, but it shouldn't be part of your game plan, I guess.
I'm really happy with those prices too. I know we're on testnet, but that would be pretty nice.
Yeah, and that is the other tough part. Like, they're trying to adjust these prices based on the fact that everybody can get everything for free right now. So it is a little tougher.
Yep.
And then Caveman over here is showing everybody how to get even more Sepolia ETH instead of just the 0.1 you can get per day. He's like, go get unlimited. Here's the video. I saw that. So if you really want to get unlimited ETH, Caveman's got a video for that out there.
It's S-ETH. Don't. I'm not.
Oh yeah, no, it's not really. It's all fake.
I wish.
Send it to his wallet and he'll double whatever you send to him.
Yeah.
You can actually do that.
Not financial advice.
Can I talk about a couple other things on the airdrop and how to collect points?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we can.
So if you share back to that tier, if you share that page again. So I actually did just drop a video on how I think you should best utilize your time to maximize your airdrop. And so feel free to check that out later, but I'll go over that general strategy. So if you look at the points here, for a tier 0 collection, and this is including all the stages of that tier. So you get stage 2, stage 3 of those exalted alluvials. That's only 200 points. I can guarantee you that it's going to take you more than 2 hours to collect all the T0s, and you'll already make that many points just by spending your time. It's going to take you like 30 to 50 hours just to collect that whole collection. So that's not worth your time to try and collect every tier 0 if you're trying to maximize your point. So you want to try and figure out what tier you're going to target. And obviously that tier 5 has a substantial increase in points, but that's also the hardest. Even in my, let's say, I think I have a 200 hours, I didn't even finish my tier 5 collection. So if you're going to do that, you have to push really hard. And I'm pretty confident now if I actually focused, I could get that set done before the end of this airdrop period. And there's some people that are going
You don't want to go for it and not get it, because then you're screwed. You wasted your time, right?
Exactly. And so, there is some that believe that they can get 2 or 3 of the tier 5 collections done. So if you're really trying to get in that upper echelon and get a good piece of this pie, you better be going for that tier 5 in push, because that's really what you got to do. If you're someone who's a casual player, I'd suggest maybe doing the tier 2. Those lynxes are very common in the stage 3. You can get that whole line. You could probably do that a couple times, rack up a good amount of points, and then that'll still give you a fair share of that airdrop. That's the quick low and down. I'm curious what you guys think just looking at those points.
Yeah, I mean, knowing the time that I'm gonna have to put into this, and knowing that we only have somewhere between 1 and 2 months here, so we don't have like a ton of time to be aiming for these. I know that tier 5 is gonna be out of reach for me to get that whole collection. Tier 4 would be a stretch. I'm pretty confident I could do the tier 3 and tier 2, so I think that's what I'm gonna focus on. Going on those stage 1 and stage 2 runs, and getting as many tier 3s and in the lynxes for the tier 2s as possible.
Oh, real quick.
Yeah.
So you said the lynxes. Do you have to own just like the full affinity and class line, or do you have to own all affinities, all classes for
All
one
of them.
set?
Everything. It says that's 31 stage 3 lynxes. Then you need every stage 2 type of lynx, so there's the base, so the 5 classes, and then you just need 1 baby lynx, and then that will complete that whole collection.
That seems like a lot. I don't know.
It is still a lot, yeah. But I mean,
when you say it that way, the tier 3s.
Yeah, I was thinking like maybe it is a good idea, but
I'm just
because-
thinking when you're in a stage 3 region, what is the most common creature you see out there, like the stage 3s?
No, I agree. But now that we don't have, I don't know. I'm the wrong person to ask about that, so we'll see.
All right. Well, let's just move on to this next section. Yeah, so straying a little away from Illuvium here. I just had a question for you guys about like the price action in these GameFi tokens, ILV, along with any other coin that's associated with a Web3 gaming. What's driving that price action? Because even, for example, for Illuvium, we just got probably the biggest update so far up until open beta, and you don't see much price action going on. I tend to believe it almost doesn't matter what happens in the games. It's just the overall crypto market. If Bitcoin and ETH want to go surging tomorrow, I think all the GameFi tokens are going to go surging with it. But it doesn't seem like they do much else for just news. Caveman, I know you see a lot more outside of Illuvium than I think me and Jimbo do. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, in general, I would agree with your statement that the broader crypto market rises, so do the GameFi coins. That's been pretty clear, and Illuvium had a nice rise right before the halving. Then it declined with ETH and whatnot. What I'm curious about is why didn't it rise again, especially with the ETH? What's it called? It just got approved by
The
ETF. Just got approved.
Well, it hasn't started trading yet. Bitcoin ETF started trading literally 2 days later or the next day. I don't even know when the ETH one starts trading, but maybe we actually need that for the inflows to come.
Yeah, because if you remember when the Bitcoin ETF came out, the price didn't go up straight away, right? It went up gradually as people were buying into the ETF. Am I wrong, or do I remember it kind of being a nothing burger?
Yeah,
it actually dipped.
So it's not the news. For some reason, the market is just behind. They're waiting for everybody else to buy it. Is it right? Yeah. That's kind of weird. It makes sense that the price is going to rise. So why is it the news not causing that to happen?
Yeah. And so then I look at, let's say, take ILV. Why is ILV not actually growing? And so I had one thought, and then that's because people are looking at the active unique owners on chain for the testnet. And I don't know if you guys have seen that. I can share my screen if you guys want to see that, if you don't know those numbers.
What are you What are you talking about? The active
players, basically, because you can check how many unique wallets there are that own alluvials on the
okay.
Immutascan. And maybe they looked at that. They weren't happy with the numbers. They were expecting more. That's a potential. But if you look in the last day, we've had a huge rise in people joining the ecosystem. Can I share my screen? Are you cool to
Yeah, you
show
can.
that?
Go ahead, share it.
So this is the
Well, it's not gonna look great. I'm just gonna throw it over top of us.
perfect. Yeah.
It's all good.
And so this was when April 30th happened. We got that private beta release, and they started letting people in. And so that immediately jumped to 7,500, or it jumped, a good, 1,800. We had a whole bunch of people starting to play. And then, it started to level off. And then just today, we had that massive rise, and it just updated just now because it's starting a new day. But then today, or the last 24 hours, it went from 5,000 all the way to 7,500. And this is representing players who have actively minted something in the Illuvium Sepolia testnet.
Yeah. So at least going through that first kind of the tutorial part and catching that Doka right away, like they have to at least catch that, right?
Exactly.
For this to pop up on here.
So that's what we're looking at in terms of numbers. So I mean, it really comes down to what you were expecting in the player base, what you think was a good starter for this private beta. I think that this is a good sign right here. This massive, this is like a vertical line basically, and that makes sense because now we have this airdrop where people can earn up to, with that, what is it, $1.8 million just with that 20,000 ILV. So we've got this huge influx coming, and then I think this is going to keep growing for the next couple days, and I'd be happy to see this really pick up and see where we go.
Yeah, I think it has to, because somebody's going to do the math on that and be like, oh, if we only have, 10,000 players, like we're all going to make like all this money because we have that pool that we're all splitting. And then that'll start getting around, and they'll be like, "Oh, we gotta." People from other communities will be like, "We gotta get into this. We gotta get involved." So, I mean, that makes sense there. Honestly, I don't know if that's making much of a difference. Like I said, I just have that belief of like, Ethereum starts pumping tomorrow. ILV with the other coins are probably gonna follow pace, regardless of what bullish news or whatever we get. And even if we did get some crazy bullish news about, Illuvium got 50,000 players in one day, like that's only going to be a temporary move, for that coin. And then it's just going to fall back into pace and then go with the market. What do you think, Jimbo?
Yeah, so exactly how the price action works for every cryptocurrency is it doesn't make sense. Let's be honest, none of this makes sense. It's all follows Bitcoin, the halving cycle. Right now, it's not just ILV, it's most altcoins are doing absolutely nothing except for meme coins. That's how it's been this entire beginning of the bull run. So it's not that like ILV is failing or this token or that token is failing. It's just we haven't gotten to the altcoin summer like price action yet. I don't think any amount of well, I guess if we had like 100,000 players playing right now, the price would probably go crazy.
Yeah.
But it's not about the amount of players or even really the gameplay. Let's be honest, it's crypto. So it's all about narrative. It's all about hype. It's all about, oh, did you see this guy? He's playing this game. Or did you see this celebrity shill this scam token? You know what I mean? So it's all about narrative. It has nothing to do with the gameplay at the moment. Hopefully that changes soon.
Yeah, I agree. And I've seen a lot of people like on X saying how they're basically disappointed that, or disappointed might be a good word for it, but the fact that like ILV is down 50% from what it was like 3 months ago. But like it doesn't have anything to do with what Illuvium's doing. It's just because the whole market tanked. So like what are you gonna expect from any of these gaming coins? They're just
Every altcoin has done
following
this.
the trend. Yeah,
Almost
exactly.
all of them.
And I like what you said before. Like, no one really knows what's going to happen. Like, who knows? All these coins could tank even further in
We
the
could
next
go to
week,
zero.
or they could go parabolic. You never really know.
My other hypothesis is that people just think that right now your better bet is being on Ethereum, especially with the ETF. Like they're expecting that to pop maybe to 6,000. Who knows what it's going to go to? So they're like, hey, I'm going to pull out of Illuvium for a moment, put it in ETH, get a gain there, pull out, take profit, then buy Illuvium at a discount. That's another hypothesis I have. So we'll see.
Yeah, and one other thing that I've heard people saying, although again I don't think it has anything to do with the actual price, is they're saying like, oh, with all this airdrop rewards coming out, maybe people don't want to be in ILV right now because everyone's going to get their airdrops and then dump their coins. But again, that's one of those things, like a few loud voices I hear saying that, but I don't think most people are really selling their coins because of that. So I've been looking forward to this segment here. So Caveman, this is the only reason I brought you onto this show. I want the inside scoop on what's going on with Polemos. So I'm hoping you got some good stuff for us. Any updates you have, anything that Polemos has planned, especially if it's tied to Illuvium. And most people watching this right now are probably into Illuvium pretty deeply, but just in general for other projects, lending systems, something I've always been into that I know Polemos is working on, and community stuff, education stuff, because I know you're putting out a lot of content. Anything you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, so our main purpose, our main vision is to provide a renting and leasing platform to really make mass adoption more accessible, especially if alluvials, if any gaming token gets too expensive, that would make a barrier to enter. And having a way to just rent, very affordably, whether that's a big whale in the ecosystem just has thousands of alluvials and wants to just put it somewhere, make some passive income off of it, they can come to our platform, stake their assets, and then they're just making passive yield while some, poor like 18-year-old kid who just wants to play this game can buy it for, a very affordable price or rent it, sorry. And then they can come into the ecosystem, play the game, maybe go into arena, challenge, Viper for that number one spot, and play around with it the way that you can. And so that's our main vision. And so we're planning on adding, that's where our dev team is fully driven right now. They're really pushing that. They're working directly with Illuvium to get that done as soon as they can, and hopefully that aligns right with open beta launch. But we'll see when that comes out. I don't have any timelines to provide there. But on my side, what I'm also trying to do is help give them direction on how that user experience should be. What are some of the other additional features that would be beneficial, whether that's for guilds or groups of players, bundles, stuff like that. I don't know what that could look like, and that's stuff. Well, I have ideas. I don't know how it will look like, but I'm suggesting things to the dev team all the time, and we're making sure that this will be the place to go, and everyone will hopefully have a Polemos wallet to just kind of connect to the ecosystem. And if you just need that one alluvial, you come to us, grab it, and that can help you get to the next stage of whatever you're trying to accomplish. So that's the main goal. I don't know if you guys have any questions on just that side of our platform.
Yeah, I do have one quick question for it. So, anyone who's been watching this for a while knows I pretty much started in GameFi with Axie Infinity. I did the whole scholarship thing, and like you mentioned, like the whole idea of a kid maybe 18 years old, doesn't have a ton of money, wants to be competitive. That's kind of like what I saw with people in different regions of the world where they might not have enough money to afford these assets, but you can help them, get a chance to compete and earn something in these games. But a lot of that had to deal with more of like a split of the returns. Like I would lend it to somebody for free and we would split the returns. So meaning that those people didn't need to have any money. It sounded like what you said for the renting. Obviously, you might have to pay a small amount to get access to some of these things. But is there something in the works, or is it already there, where you can actually like lend the assets and then split the returns?
There is a potential. I don't know how it's set up, but those are the kind of ideas that we want to make sure that we're hearing from the community. And if you got ideas, feel free to reach out to me directly or comment on this video. I'll definitely be checking the comments here. We want to make sure that we're making it accessible to everyone. That is our goal. We want to boost mass adoption as much as we can, and that coincides with our content plan and our development here. It's just none of us are going to make a substantial living unless we can convince traditional gamers that this is the better experience. This is where gaming is going, and I think that we're all here because we believe that. Having this more, I consider a more immersive experience by having all these assets on chain and actually having ownership over them. That's what I find valuable, and I think that once people start realizing that, that's when big traditional gaming companies will come in and start creating games for us. Yeah, I mean, I can also talk about our content and education. I know you mentioned that too. So if you didn't know, we've actually been out of the Web3 space for probably about the last 9 months before I started covering Illuvium again. And that's because we made 3 separate channels covering Web2 gaming, specifically action. We have a Polemos action channel, Polemos RPG, and then Polemos News. And so like we had Baldur's Gate, Dragon's Dogma 2, just all kinds of different games over the last 9 months, trying to connect with a Web2 audience. And so we've done really well there. I think we have over 8,000 subscribers across all 3 of those channels. We have, I think, close to 6 million views. All 3 channels reached partner in less than 6 months. And we feel that we actually made a loyal base, and we understand what those gamers were needing and wanting. And what we're going to do next, our next phase, and this is where I need you guys' help, I need everyone's help in Web3, is I'm going to drop the most clickbaity video I've done. And it's going to be, I have deceived you. And then it's going to be, hey, this is the real purpose of our channel. We wanted to show you that we're a real gamer, we're real gamers, but we're going to show you this new thing, and it's Web3 gaming.
I was just thinking that. What a sneaky way to grab them and then just pull them in, right?
Yeah. And so obviously we're probably going to get the most hate NFT comments possible. We're probably going to lose half our subscribers right off the back. But there's going to be half that are going to be like, hey, you know what? I'm interested. I want to hear what you guys are saying. I've seen you be a real gamer covering real content. I'm going to be open-minded. And then if we can get some of our Web3 community to come in there, help rally the support, that engagement boost in the comments section could skyrocket that video in each channel. And hopefully, we get a big, semi-viral video that can start expanding. And maybe then we can recuperate a lot of those subscribers I'm about to lose. So that's the overall strategy and what we're trying to do. Once again, everything is about building mass adoption, getting players in the ecosystem. And thanks for letting me share all that.
I want to build on top of that, because there's going to be a lot of moments like what Caveman just said, where there's these exodus moments where Web2 gamers are exposed heavily to Web3. Don't be mean. Like, yes, they're going to be extremely rude, ignorant, all of that. Do not be mean. Be as nice as possible and explain as much as you can to these people, because they have been absolutely brainwashed. It's almost not even their fault, right? So, and if you're just really mean to them and rude, they're going to want to hate NFTs because of you. So I know, as someone who gets really frustrated at people who hate Web3, just be nice. There's nothing good comes from like arguing with people in the comments, or talking down on people for not knowing this or that, or acting like you're more intelligent than the other person. Just be nice to these people. There's going to be a lot of I only say that because not just this video, there's going to be so many moments like this. So just be aware of how you treat random strangers online, because it actually makes a difference. They could also be schizo and find you and kill you. That's something that could happen too.
Could too. But if you haven't noticed, the last segment here says Web2 gamers.
Oh, maybe I spoke early. Sorry.
No, well, because I knew it was gonna flow there, and it just did it naturally. So I'm gonna officially move it down there. But yeah, I put this in here too because I know Caveman, you sent me a DM. I don't know, a month ago or something. At this point, you showed me a video and it had, I don't know how many views it had, but it had like a crazy amount, way more than I've gotten on any of mine. And I was just like, wow, he's really reaching out there. Like it made me think that like what we're all doing could blow up if we did it in Web 2, but we're sticking with our Web 3 like upbringing, I guess you want to call it. I don't know. It's still all new, but like I like what you're doing there, especially your little trick that you're gonna pull.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of Illuvium influencers that are just solely focused on Illuvium, that if they went into the greater Web 2 space, they've learned so much. Like you, Jimbo, like you guys have spent so much time mastering your thumbnails, the way you do your videos, keeping that engagement and retention throughout them. I'm sure if you guys went to Web 2, you can find success. It's just, it is still obviously a challenging market. There's a lot of competition, and the CPM is super low to begin with, but I think that there's a lot of potential that you guys can all make it. And hopefully, other people will see that when they come into the ecosystem, and they're gonna be like, wow, I want to subscribe to all these influencers.
Yeah, see, I want to go with the opposite play. I want to stick with the Web3. This is what I like. Like some people are here just for the games. I'll admit it. I'm here for the Web3 and the crypto part too. Like that's what drew me in. This is what I like. So I'm gonna stick with this and wait until they come in, because I was here during that last bull run, 2021. Like I said, I was in Axie right before it blew up. I wasn't one of the people who bought the top. Like I rode that whole wave up, and like I saw what can happen when a game takes off.
Mhm.
And whether that's Illuvium or a different game. And I think we've said that before, Jimbo, on these shows. Like maybe it's Star Atlas that blows up. The people who are playing that and see that, are some of those are going to flow to Illuvium. Once people get exposed to what Web3 gaming is, I think they're going to start, dispersing more in Web3. Yeah, I mean, even what happened 3 years ago, like so many people came in because of Axie Infinity and found all these other games. I mean, that's what I did. I came in with Axie Infinity and I found Illuvium. So I think whenever the market is right and things really start blowing up, it's going to help every Web3 game out there. And I'm pretty excited for it.
Yeah. The only problem though is that Star Atlas won't be out for another 10 years.
Yeah,
So that probably like I don't know what you're smoking, but I would like to have some. But
this is the second video in a row you're gonna shit on Star.
I don't even like know
I'm
anybody
clipping
from
this
Star
too,
Atlas.
and I'm putting it on X.
No, I mean,
Star-
you've got a lot. Or I'm going to say a lot. But there's a couple Web3 games that I think are coming out soon that will. And Illuvium's leading that charge, obviously. But if these other games come out and they're successful in grabbing their different target audience, we could really have a huge influx of gamers just all across the genres. And that's what I'm super excited for. I think it's sometime this year or next year, early next year.
And I really hope we get these lending platforms going, because going back to the Polemos thing, it's like this is going to help. If we can make this seamless and it's not like super hard or complex, which the technology for Web3 has come a long way, so we're going to get to that point fairly quickly, I actually think. But regardless, the lending systems is going to be huge for Web2, because not only for the lenders, because even if you give it out for free, you can lend alluvials. I wrote this down because I didn't want to forget. You can lend alluvials to Web2 for Arena. Even if you did it for free, your alluvials get trained in the arena, dude. So you're still making money. You know what I mean? And those things take a really long time to level up, and you get like an XP boost on top of it when you're doing arena. So you can give it to Web2 players, train up your alluvials, but also for the Web2 players, they're getting extremely cheap experiences compared to what they could get with a game that's probably already not going to be super, super expensive. So, I mean, I think Illuvium is set up really well, and other Web3 games should be taking notes. But again, if the game's not fun, we're not going to get those Web2 players. So hopefully games come out and they're actually good.
Yeah.
Which I would be surprised if we didn't at least get one banger. You know what I mean? And that would be almost not possible. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, we
crazier
know
things have happened.
Yeah, we know the long-term plan of Illuvium. Like, I still remember that thread that Kieran put out probably a year ago of like the 20-year plan. Like, and just the runway that we have. Like, I expect things to go well how they are right now, but like even if they didn't, it's not like Illuvium's gonna shut their doors and just call it quits. They're gonna keep pushing until they get something right. And I think they're going to have the core of the overworld, catching the alluvials, having the bonding curve, not making them inflationary, actually making them deflationary. I think it really is setting themselves up for success. One other thing I wanted to say, when you were talking about just like the ease of use for these Web 2 players to come in, as much as Axie Infinity blew up in 2021, it was pretty complicated to do all that. Like, it took me a while to figure out, like, that's when I was first really getting into the Web3 part of crypto too. So I was like, how do I make these wallets? How do I buy the tokens, transfer it over? I had to buy I think I had to buy my first AXS on a decentralized exchange. Then I had to like link my wallet up to the website, go on the market, buy some of these NFTs, and I had to make separate wallets and figure out how I could lend these out to different people to play it, and then transfer tokens back and forth. Like with something like the Polemos, the IMX Passport, like it makes things so easy now. You just you click on, you sign in with your Google account or whatever it is, and then everything's gonna pop up right there. Like it's so much easier now to onboard those people than 2021. That, like I said, once the markets show the right time, things are gonna blow up.
Yeah, not to be bearish, but those are two completely different markets. But still, I think it is the reason why Americans didn't come in, I think, is because we're lazy and we didn't want to learn all that stuff. The third world countries had to do that out of desperation. Now imagine I'm allowed to be lazy. Are you kidding me? I can just sign up and it's that quick, and the IMX passport's there and you're ready to play. It's I don't know, dude. I think we're gonna have a much larger audience from first world countries than we did the last bull run in crypto gaming specifically. It has to happen. I'm sure of it. Not financial advice though.
Yeah. Hey, all right. So, I mean, that pretty much concludes this episode. That was a great chat with you guys. I think we had some great topics. Caveman, anything you want to say? And like, where I'll put links down below for Polemos stuff in your personal channels. So go follow Caveman. Go check out Polemos. They do. I didn't even share the screen. I had it up here, but they have a nice website that you can go and check out some stuff. They have some articles on that. I don't know if you're writing some of those articles or somebody else is writing them, but it looks like a great resource, especially how closely knit they are to Illuvium. But any final words, Caveman?
No, it was an absolute pleasure, and I just want to give a shout out to you guys for being in here for 46 episodes. That is such a work of art, honestly. Like, you guys, like, the dedication, keeping it up, just congrats. Like, you guys, well done. Just that's all I'm gonna say. Well done, and thanks for having me, of course.
Yeah. I mean, you've been on it before. This is you've been on 2 out of the 46, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that was an early one. I think that was before Jimbo was even here.
Maybe,
when,
yeah. Ramfy was here.
Ramfy.
Yep.
Ramfy, yeah.
I watched that episode.
Did you? You were on as a guest early on too, before you were the host. Yeah. It's been fun though. And it's just gonna get better. We're finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and I might still only be getting like 300 to 500 views on this, but I'm hoping we get 3,000 to 5,000. Later this year.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, we've got 7,500 active wallets now. I'm sure people are going to be looking at every piece of Illuvium content, figuring out how to maximize, keeping up to date. And I'm sure all of us will start seeing larger numbers in our videos. My cat is attacking me right now. Oh my gosh. Dude,
he's getting
Jimbo, Jimbo, thanks again for always joining. You never disappoint. Always bring your big beard. I think it's growing. You gotta trim that thing down. I trimmed mine.
I was actually gonna do it tonight, so say goodbye to the beard, guys.
Really? I was thinking I need to shave my head so I match with you guys. Bald head, beards. We could be a trio here.
Yeah.
We are really dragging out this outro.
All right. That's the end. Episode 46 in the books. We'll be back in 2 weeks for another episode, and we'll probably have another guest. And Caveman will have you back on in a future episode.